Are you ready to move from an ordinary life to an extraordinary one where you meet your business goals, create a life that has success in health, wealth, and for self? Then come and join us for our retreat in Byron Bay, Australia at the end of July, start of August 2025, and come and rediscover who you really are. More details can be found at willowhealing.org.
Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hi everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and I'm here today with the beautiful Sylva Florence. So she is a professional healer specializing in Reiki, intuitive energy, healing, and shamanism. She is also a freelance writer, a translator, translating Italian to English, and she hosts the podcast Magic, Medicine, and Mayhem, which you can all check out. I'll leave that in the show notes for you. When Sylva isn't helping other humans or interviewing them, she's often found exploring the world or the woods by bike or on foot. In fact, Sylva feels more at home outdoors than inside four walls, and as a result, her practice is deeply connected to the wisdom found in nature's cycles and seasons and its flora and fauna. I so resonate with this. And Sylva is an American expat. Yeah. She's an American expat living just outside of Florence, Italy, making her literally a Florence near Florence. I love that. And that summarizes your energy perfectly. Sylva, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on, Catherine.
So, for those listeners who aren't aware of what shamanism is, I know it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Do you want to explain a bit more what shamanism actually represents and how you can use it for healing?
Yes, sure, absolutely. So, shamanism is probably one of the oldest spiritual practices that exists. Like, probably at some point in time, your ancestors practiced it because it's also global. It's not something that necessarily belongs to any one culture because it's been practiced. So, basically, the role of the shaman in ancient cultures was to keep people in line, basically, to keep people kind of in what's called right relationship with the planet, because shamanism and animism both recognize that humans aren't at the top of the pile. We're actually, it's more like a table. So more like we're around a table with everyone. So when I say everyone, it's not only the animals, but also the plants, the trees, the rocks, the rivers, and we're actually like the children. So shamanism is, it is a spiritual practice because it is also deeply healing, because the other role of the shaman was to go into spiritual realms through a trance, some sort of a trance state, and retrieve information and retrieve healing. And it was all for the benefit of the tribe and the higher good of all things, basically.
Yeah.
So it's a deeply healing and balancing practice, and it completely can shift your viewpoint, right? Because we're used to thinking that humans are the top, we're the most evolved, and that kind of, the rest of the planet is there for us to take and use and do what we wish.
Yeah.
But if you start to look at, like, trees are at my level and animals are at my level and they're probably even wiser than me, then you start to look at things a bit differently.
Yeah, and I guess it's that. Oh, sorry. And I guess it's that, that balance where as humans, we forget that we are part of nature and we are very connected to nature, and that when we're hurting our planet, it's actually hurting us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not sustainable.
No. Yeah, and there's, and especially that there's that belief, especially in a lot of indigenous and shaman cultures and practices, where with that you only take what you need, and if you, especially I always think if they take the buffalo, they use every part of the buffalo and they honor it completely and fully, and then they give back. They're not going to take all the buffalo.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the give and take, exactly what you said. It's the give and take that we've lost, and which shamanic cultures were really good at. Like they would, like there's Native American tribes, who are very shamanic as well, and of course it's changed a lot during the years, but they still have so many beautiful customs, and many of them, when they go to harvest plants, they skip the first one they see, and they even if you have to walk and walk and walk and walk to search for another one, because you take what you need and you preserve too. You want to make sure that there's enough for everyone and that you are not wiping the last one out. So there's just a deep consciousness of the interconnectedness that we kind of have forgotten about but are hungry to get back to, because we know as a species that like this is not working, right?
No.
So I kind of see shamanism as like a doorway to saving ourselves, but not only ourselves, like the planet too,
Yeah, 100%. And when you was talking about that they skipped the first plant to go find the next one to preserve the plants, that gave me goosebumps, because it's so resonant with everything happening with seeds and with plants and stuff across the, and species dying out because they're not being preserved, and there's some amazing projects happening around the world. I was watching one the other day happening in the Amazon, where he's saving all these sacred plants and medicinal plants and in the Serengeti project, I think it's called. Don't quote me on that. But like going back to, but going back and preserving that and, honoring nature again. Like he said, this was just farmland and now it's like this rainforest that he's restored, and it's, we have a chance if we go back to these practices of honoring and not taking too much to save our planet, and create this, it's not create a new earth, it's restore what was lost almost.
Yeah, and stop the destruction, stop the destructive way in which we're living right now,
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm sure somebody's thinking like, well, how are we going to go back to being like hunter-gatherers now that we're like billions of people? Because of course, hunter-gatherer days, there was less of us, much, much less of us. So it was easy to be more sustainable. But each person in their own way can start to do this kind of thing. Like when you're on Amazon, for example, like, do you really need that thing that's going to cost nothing, but it's going to cost a lot in terms of production and carbon and all of that stuff? Can you reuse something else that you already have at home? Can you give thanks to all the food on your plate? Like when you look at your plate of food and you look at the eggs and you think about the chicken that it came from, and you look at the grains and you thank them for being cut so that you can live and eat and thrive. You think about the cheese that came from the cow, and you really start to like consciously connect these things again. And that's the way that we can go back, is that we can, like you said, bring the honor and the respect and the consciousness back into this equation.
Yeah. And from working with kids a lot, teaching them from a young age how to respect nature, that, if there's a bug in there, you don't automatically kill it. Hey, let's actually preserve that little bug, just doing what it's doing, and take it outside. So we've had a lot of Christmas beetles. They're like these little gold beetles that come around Christmas time, so they're just called Christmas beetles. I don't know if that's their real name. But they've been coming into...
Awesome.
Yeah, they've been coming into where I work, and the kids and I have been actually taking them back outside to save them, because I'm like, well, they just flew in here, they just felt to come, and they're good luck. We don't want to squish them, let's take them outside. And even there'll be spiders, and we'll take them outside as well. And like, they just accidentally got in here, so that's something little you can start with honoring, and also growing your own food and actually being in that process too.
if it's possible. Like here, there's a lot of, we're in an apartment, we don't have any land, but I would like to at least get an herb garden going,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You find a way.
And here,
Yeah.
here exactly, and here, thankfully, like the culture is so rich and seasonal that it's really, really easy to access good local organic produce, like because Italians demand quality. So
It's very true. It's very true.
I appreciate that part. So yeah, but yeah,
I love how we just segued into saving the planet. So this is just the nature of conversations. So
I mean, when you're exactly, because shamanism as well is not, it's not a religion in any way or form, because it's completely personal. Like there's nothing you need to learn except for a few simple techniques, and there's no middleman. There's no belief, nothing you need to believe in. It's just deeply personal experiences.
Yeah.
And a relationship that you have with what's called your power animal.
Yeah.
Which is an animal that you do a special kind of voyage to find, and there's ways to know, and that's a relationship too that can be very, very deep and very, very helpful as well. But it's more like a way of seeing and experiencing the world, in effect, in theory, and in practice.
Exactly. And I always talk about, it's funny because animals will come up again today, but I often tell people sometimes animals come into our life to give us messages too. So if you keep seeing the same animal around, or you keep hearing the same, like people keep dropping this random animal into conversation, or, you might look up at the clouds and it's this animal shape, just Google it. I just Google spiritual meaning of owl or spiritual meaning of elephant or whatever it might be, and it's the universe talking to you, and it doesn't require a belief system. It's just the universe saying, hey, we've got a message for you and we're trying to figure out how to get it to you, so we're sending animal messages through that way. Or it might be feathers, or it might be numbers, or it might be whatever resonates with you. So yeah, if you keep your eyes open, and especially in shamanism, I know when I was looking at it, there's so much symbolism in things. You just have to take that step back and have a look at it, and channel that eagle and step back and actually look and take it all in.
Yeah, exactly. It's great for breaking down your ego. And it's really great for like getting out of your left brain, that logical, rational, like this can't be real side that is basically like completely dominant at this point in our evolution.
Yeah.
Or devolution. So yeah, because a lot of people, when they first start getting into shamanism, it's very, very normal, I would say, to be questioning continuously, like, is this real? Am I making this up? No, you're not, but you need to get past that first, because you're about to have experiences that shamans all over the world have been having for thousands of years. Like if you literally put like a Peruvian shaman in a room with an Amazonian, let's say a Siberian shaman with translators, they'll have, like, they'll be talking about the same things. They might use slightly different techniques, but the same ideas, techniques, beliefs have been used all over the world for new clients. It's like help them retrain their thoughts a little bit, and their take limitations off, and challenge beliefs and things like that. That's a huge part of this spiritual practice, or many of them probably.
Yeah, and I guess it's being curious and allowing your imagination to play out and see what happens. And even when I started my spiritual journey, I was like, I can't be making this up. There is no way I would have imagined this to happen. So, there's no way I wouldn't imagine going into a cave with my I have a stag who's my kind of spirit animal. Not kind of. So yeah, I wouldn't have imagined a stag taking me to a snake so the snake could sink his fangs into me to pull out things that weren't right for my system, and then wrapping around me and squeezing it out and then rebuilding it? Or how do I make up that the shamans have pulled me apart and are putting together my system in a rebirth thing? And whilst they get to my brain part, put a picture of an ice cream van up because they didn't want me to see that.
Yeah, that's actually something that is pretty, that's something that's very global in experience, is the dismemberment thing.
Yeah.
And it sounds really scary,
No, it's
but
not.
it's not. Like, it's not gory. It's just, it's a remaking of your spiritual body.
Yeah.
And that's, the basis of all things is the spiritual body. So
exactly. And it's kind of like you're just like, wow, like I really could do with a new body. Thank you for putting it back together and making it work better. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. But
yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
Yeah.
once you accept, there's no way I could have imagined this out of nowhere, and you're having this experience. And the more open you are, the more magic tends to happen because, you're open and you're letting it come through.
And magic attracts magic, right? So once you start opening yourself up to it, then you start like really reaping a lot of the benefits of just being awestruck all the time, because you're just like, oh my gosh, what have I been missing this whole time?
I know.
And I'm so happy that you brought up curiosity, because that is, people are like, ask me where to start, and I tell them to be curious about everything. Be curious about everything. Be curious about, the difficult situations you find yourself in. Like, you just can change one word in your brain. Like, instead of why is this happening to me, why is this happening for me? And start being really curious about, where is this leading me? Where is this discomfort pushing me towards? And then, of course, that translates also to shamanism. Like, when your brain starts going, no, this is not real, say like, just wait a second. I'm curious about this. Let's see where it goes. Be curious. And let your curiosity lead you, like kids, right?
And it's funny because I've always been curious, and I feel that was part of how quickly I unpacked a lot of my spiritual things, because I just kept adventuring further, not digging. It was adventuring further. And to the point that one day I decided I want to try and get to the Akashic Records. So if anyone's listening or hasn't listened to a past episode, the Akashic Records is kind of a storage of everything that has happened and will be, according to your current path. So I was like, I want to go. And I rocked up there, and my guides showed up, and they said, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm just curious. And they're like, but you know all this, you've been working on this, why are you here? And I was like, curious. And they're like, oh, well, open it up. And sure enough, it was everything they'd shown me anyway. But I was like, no, I just wanted to know.
You need some validation too, especially at the beginning of this kind of stuff. Like, you need validation every once in a while to make yourself believe, because of the right brain stuff or the left brain stuff.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, validation is legit.
Yeah, and still sometimes there's things that happen to me, and I know I can't tell certain people because they will look at me like I've got two heads, and
Oh, for sure.
But then you find your tribe, right? Then you find the right community of support that you can talk about that and know that you'll have this really cool conversation that just spirals into more magic.
Yeah, most of the time, well, not most of the time, but depending on my audience, I'm like either a shamanic practitioner or I'm a professional healer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Here, you can be whatever you want. We don't do boxes here.
Good. Because really, I'm a witch and a shamanic practitioner and a super curious adventurer at heart.
Someone once called me, because I was trying to describe what I do, and before I started working with DNA work, and they said, you're an intuitive healer. And I was like, oh, that's a nice rounded term, because I feel, Sylva, you're similar to me. You just do whatever the person needs at that moment. You pull out of your toolbox whatever you intuitively need to help that person get to the next step on their journey.
Exactly. Like, I sometimes, often, when I'm doing shamanic work as well, I call in also Reiki energies, because they're very, very, very healing and relaxing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I'll use that to kind of get the person comfortable, more relaxed, and help to clear out whatever needs to be cleared out at the same time. Because yeah, you do kind of intuitively like feel like, oh, I need to pull them a card, or oh, time to use a crystal, or like whatever else needs to happen. You just move yourself aside. That's the,
You're
big
just
key.
a
Like, you
conduit.
move yourself aside.
Yeah.
And you just let yourself be that kind of bridge. I see myself as a bridge a lot of the time. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, and often if I channel through messages and things, I tell people, oh, we need to record it, or we need to actually record it. And they say, what do you mean? I said, I don't remember it. They go, how do you not remember it? I said, because it's not for me. I'm holding the space and I'm getting the messages for you, but they're not for me. They're for you. So I don't remember them because I don't need to. So, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I know ethically, like spiritual ethics, it's such a cool thing because you can't just tap into anyone's energy. You can't just tap into different things. There's like, you have to have permission from that person to be able to work with them on that higher level, which I feel something that often people don't talk about enough, is that you have to trust, first of all, trust the person that you're working with. And secondly, they need to ask you permission to tap into their energy. If they just start working on you, there's something not right there. Yes, you've consented because you want to come, but for me, I still ask verbal permission. I don't know about you, but yeah.
I have them sign like a consent form and things like that give me permission already.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at first, of course, we talk about it, and the permission is also given at a certain point. The consent, we talk about what we're going to do, and they say okay.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way,
I would never ever
yeah,
do Reiki, even though Reiki's so gentle. I would never do it on someone that has not given me permission.
That's right.
Or any other practice.
Yeah. And so anyone's listening and they've ever felt like they've gone for a treatment and then they feel like part of them's missing, there's something not right there. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You should.
And if somebody's out, like, really is just like, I've got it all together and I'm completely healed, run.
Yes,
because
definitely.
It's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing, lifelong process, healing.
I call the dark night of the soul stage 1, stage 2, stage 3.
Stage 20. Yeah, because every time you have one of those dark nights of the soul, it's because something has got to change. Something is dying and something is being reborn, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's again
it's just that we kind of
season.
We need that, like, yeah, it's the cycle.
Yeah.
It's the same cycle that nature goes through, the same cycle the moon goes through. It's the same cycle that we go through.
Yeah, and even, our cycle, we ignore the cycles. We as humans are programmed to work with the cycles and the seasons. When it's winter, we're meant to be resting and, appreciating our harvest and the abundance that we've collected over the warmer months. And then, spring, we're meant to be coming back out. And then summer is when we're meant to be running, full ball, and that's where you're going to get all your beautiful produce and things like that. And then you start to slow down again. Whereas we as a culture have made it so that you just meant to be go, 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 go. Oh, it's Christmas, you can have a week off. Go, 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 go. It's like, okay.
It's insanity. It's total insanity. Like, it's not supposed to be that way. And no wonder we're all stressed out and all have anxiety and depression,
And burnout. And it's not just like adults, it's kids as well. Like it's, yeah. So it's everybody. Everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I really, like, if you want to go back, you want to, like, get yourself back to some sort of a rhythm of rest and preparation and go and rest and that kind of thing. I tell people, like, one of the easiest ways is to start tuning into the moon. Like, nobody even looks up at the sky anymore. We've lost, a lot of us, like a huge percentage of people don't even look up at the sky anymore. So if you just even start to look up at the sky and notice where the moon is, and then you can decide for yourself, like, well, when it's a full moon, I want to, like, what I do is I reflect on the month that went by. When I notice it's the full moon, I just take a little bit of time and I journal and I light a candle and I just reflect about how everything went. Perfect. And on the new moon, I burn my fears and anxieties.
I love it.
Which is really fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
And
I started. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I constantly update because I see a lot of kids and they'll you can feel the full moon coming because the energy gets a bit more crazy and a bit more extreme. Mm-hmm. And the parents are like, oh, is there a full moon again? They're just used to me reporting. And I was like, yep, there's a massive one coming. They're like, oh my goodness, why? And then I'm like, oh, it's Mercury retrograde. And people are like,
have fun.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, you know how we've had car issues and tech issues and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, Mercury retrograde. They're like, oh. So,
I understand now.
Yeah. And it's just an innocent conversation. And I guess it's making people aware of those things again because they're so easily dismissed. It's like over the years they've gotten such a bad rep, and then we got to just tune back into it.
Exactly. And it's just about finding ways that make sense to us now to do the things that were, sustainable and wonderful and nourishing in the past. Like I've started to hold at the full moon a transformative writing group. So I do it in Florence, one in Florence, I do one online. And it's all about using like whatever the energy of that moon is and season and giving people prompts that make them think really differently. Like I had them think about being a non-human and non-animal, so plant or rock or something that was preparing for winter. Wow. And they loved it. Like nobody had ever considered the perspective of a non-human, non-animal, right?
Yeah.
And they're telling me now, like, oh, we're looking up like at the moon now, like. I'm noticing the moon all the time now, and I'm seeing how it changes, and I'm seeing that like the month is half over. It's a different way to kind of keep track of the cycles and stuff.
Well, it's funny because I read this thing the other week, and it said if we had 13 months in the year, there would be 28 days in the year, and then the same day would fall on every year, and then you could track the moon cycles so much easier and all these things. I was like, well, what an interesting perspective.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. But 13 feels a bit weird to say there's 13 months in the year. But, we've fallen away from that, and even as women, you start to pay attention, if you're still in that menstrual stages and things, where does your cycle fall? Like naturally it should fall in line with a moon cycle. It's whatever resonates best with your body. And weirdly, Spirit took me through a journey where I was perfectly in line with the full moon. And then I thought, I wonder what it'd be like with the new moon. And then actually shifted my period to the new moon. And then I was like really drained and everything. And I was talking to a friend and I said, I don't know what's going on. She goes, it's about the energy. How do you feel when it's that way? And I said, I actually feel really drained. And she's like, yeah, that's not the right energy for you. So then it started to shift back again. So it was really intriguing. And it was only when I started really paying attention to it and then lining it up with the moon that I noticed that was this pattern that's and then it's related to energy and how it's pulled out of your body, and it's just this bigger process, bigger than you actually realize, how tied you in with the cycles of Earth.
Yeah, mine's around the new moon usually.
Yeah I had this theory that depending on what moon you were born under might be when your cycle happens, but I don't know if that's true or not yet.
No, I'll have to look up later and see if I was born under a new moon.
Yeah. This is
so cool. This is the kind of stuff that like when you enter into like a more shamanic lifestyle or anything that's nature based, right? you start to pick up on these little subtle things that would have just passed right over your head for, years before that. But
yeah, and
it's so lovely.
Yeah, and it's again that curiosity coming up about, oh, why is this happening
Right.
this way? And, when it's a full moon, my energy is better or my energy is worse, because the full moon affects people differently depending on so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But, and just taking notice of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I guess if someone was to come have a session with you, we kind of talked about it briefly, what would it look like? This is always a fun question.
Well, it depends, which is, I'm sure, your favorite answer.
Yes.
Because it depends on, like what the person needs, what they're coming to me for. I do most of my online distance work, which is also really baffling, I know, at the beginning for a lot of people, but we're working with energy, so it's not essential that we're in the same place. It's nice sometimes, but it's not essential, and it's just as effective.
Yes.
So, I mean, when I do a session online, it always starts with like a video call where we meet and we talk about, whatever your needs are. And before that, we've already also exchanged some documents, so I already understand a bit about what we're going to do. And I've already probably suggested a few things to you as well. But it's always a video call, and then I do tarot readings, I do channelings, I do shamanic healing and Reiki healing, and I hold online writers groups and things like that. So it really just depends. Usually then there's the part of the session, if I'm doing Reiki or shamanic healing, I close the video call so that I can get into like a non-distracted kind of trance state, and then the person just relaxes, which is so amazing, because you actually stop. Like, you stop while I'm doing that. You're laying down and you are stopped, and you are resting, and you're allowing whatever it is that needs to come through, which is the other crazy ailment of humanity, is that we never stop, like we talked about before. So if you don't stop and you don't introduce just a little silence into your life, it's really hard to understand what you need.
It's so true, because, and even I've had, my husband does Reiki, and I have another friend,
Cool.
Yeah, and she uses an aspect of Reiki as well as some other principles, and her style is very different to my husband's. They're both evolved at their own way that suits them. So he almost combines a massage with it as well, and that I find still very relaxing. Whereas when I was doing it with her, it was like exactly like you were talking about. You kind of just go into this place, and for her, she puts me on a cloud, and I'm like in this fluffy cloud, all happy and just la 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 la, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Okay, come back now." I'm like, "But I just got here."
Yeah, because you enter into that space where there is no time.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, actually, it's been an hour.
Exactly. And then just to close it, like at the end, we usually have another chat where I talk about what came through, maybe what you felt, if you're comfortable with it, and or some people just like to close it and not have a call afterwards because they just want to relax more or go about their day, and that's fine too. So it kind of depends.
Yeah. And I know you're really
flexible.
Yeah, well, I feel that we have to be flexible, because if we go in with a script of how it's going to go, it's just going to go pear-shaped anyway, really.
Exactly.
Those things never plan out. Even podcasts, we were laughing before everybody because my booking system decided not to send Sylva a link, and then I was like, oh, that's nice of it. Yay. We'll just roll with it.
We still figured it out.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you just gotta go with the flow.
And I know we've talked about that you're really passionate about helping people transform their fear into fierceness, you know, and rerouting and restoring and reconnecting. Did you want to expand a little bit more on that?
Yes. So I also list myself as a transformation guide because I feel like that's one of my superpowers, just because of the way that I have lived my life and all of my experiences. Like I've moved like 34 times.
Wow.
I've had like every job under the sun. I've reinvented myself just so many times. And somehow, you know, I have that innate kind of ability to look at a situation and see if like the most positive side of it. So I can really help people to transform whatever situation they're in into something different, you know, and it's not an overnight process. You know, especially if you're like in A and you want to be in B, you know, you need patience for all of this stuff, and that's okay too, because you know, patience is difficult, but it's really, really, really useful because a lot of things like work themselves out when you wait, which is really wild. But so I kind of just accompany people using shamanic techniques and using Reiki and using tarot, whatever needs to happen to work these blocks and fears out at the same time that we're talking about them, and we're figuring out where you want to go, because a lot of us just don't even know where we want to go. We don't know what we want, we don't know what we need, and we're afraid to make a change.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of digging into that kind of stuff and figuring out better ways to look at our situations and better ways to look at how useful these situations are when we start to take off some of the limitations that we put on ourselves and that are put on us, you know. So I also studied narrative therapy, so I think I use some narrative therapy techniques to kind of interrogate the idea by making it a bit of an external thing. It's not a problem with you, it's a problem with that.
Yeah.
The fear, usually.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
So yeah, it's really fun and challenging.
It's funny when you're talking about narrative therapy, because often when I'm working with people and trying to shift pain, I was like, okay, let's talk. So I actually talk to the organs, or I'll talk to the body part and see what's going on. And then I try and then teach my clients how to do that, but in a different way. It's like, okay, if you can close your eyes and your liver could say something to you right now, what would it be? It can just be a word or a feeling. And then we can, and then we can help unpack that. And it's, again, like you were saying, pulling it out of the body, that it's not, you know, there's something not wrong with that, because, you know, there's always a reason for it. There's always perfect, imperfectly perfect. I like using that term, perfectly perfect. But you know, it's dissociating it from you, so you can actually step back and see what's going on underneath, rather than I've just got, you know, my liver's not working, or I've got this hip pain, or I've got, you know, this loop in my life that I can't step out of. You know, why does this keep happening to me? Yeah. And I guess that's, I really resonated with what you said, is trying to help people transform, because I find, especially with what you were saying, we have hope, we give them hope. We hold that higher vibration so that they can see it is possible to be exactly what they want to be, or exactly what path they want to choose, and that you can hold that space and help the fear turn into fierceness to keep pushing through.
Exactly. And that involves reconnecting, because that involves reconnecting with your buried essence that's inside you, that's like calling to you, right?
Yeah.
And you get those calls. It's really easy to talk ourselves out of them. And reconnecting also with your roots, which involves nature and your past, your ancestors, things like that. Like maybe you want to look into doing like a family tree, or you want to get in contact with one of your ancestors or something like that. And restoring, which means rewriting this story of yourself that you have, or that you've been told, or the shoulds and all of that stuff. It's like, well, what would you like your story to actually be? And sometimes even literally having them write like doing some story prompts and, speaking them out loud. And I mean, just all these various elements that can be used when necessary, basically.
Yeah, I often encourage clients, especially if they have something they really can't say to somebody, they can't get it out, they can't, they can't, it could be even the person passed away, they can't say what they wanted to say, or it could be, their boss or in a situation at work. And I use the writing prompts too. I'm like, just write a Dear John letter that you never send and burn that thing and send it back, because it's so powerful.
Bury it.
That's it. It's so powerful. And it's just a way to shift that energy and get it out of your body, so then you can have space to be what you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because first you got to create space, and then you decide what you want to fill with it and what you want to invite. That's the fun part.
Exactly.
The hard part, but the fun part.
Yeah, it is so much fun. And when you just stay open and you think, how on earth did I get in this situation? But here I am.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's really one of the most wonderful things to see, when one of your clients starts to thrive,
Agreed.
And then
Agreed. 100%.
On their own. Because that's the part, is like, I don't want you, I want you to need me. Yes, of course. I want you to come back. I want blah, blah, blah. But I also want you in a way to not need me. I want you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and, be decisive and be empowered and feel whole, because you already are whole. But, like, I want you to go forth, like, with fierceness.
Yeah. It's funny because I said this to a group of people this morning. I said, if you want to work with me, I'm not going to hold your hand and coddle you along the whole way. I'm going to make you step out and actually take ownership of it, because you're not going to grow by me doing the work for you. I can't do the work for you. I'm here to hold space and guide you and get the highest guidance, but I'm not going to sit there and pull you along like a child. That's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
You got to be able, you have to do the work. Like, that is, we are the instant gratification generation. Mm-hmm. And this is not an instant gratification thing, but that's why it's so rewarding and so rich, because it is a process.
Exactly.
It's like a seed growing, right? It has to push so hard to get out of the soil, to get into the sun and be able to bloom. Like, why should we be any different?
No. And, and then once it is blooming, you just see it going with the flow, because it's done the work and it knows that it's sure of itself and it's where it needs to be in the world. And then all the magic just starts to interweave, and then it just kind of, it's almost, for me, it's almost like I'm stepping back going, that's why that happened there, so that I could be here now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like 10 years later, like, oh.
And yes, everyone, it can take that long.
It mean that there won't, once the magic is flowing and stuff, it's not like everything's going to be like golden and perfect and there's not going to ever be problems, or you won't have health problems ever again, or you won't have catastrophes. Like, you totally will.
Yeah.
But the difference is that you'll be rooted. You'll be rooted in yourself. You'll be rooted in your in nature. You'll be rooted in the idea of exactly who you are and where you came from, and you can weather the storms much better.
Yeah, and it's also that sureness of yourself, so you're not, that doubt doesn't come up again, and it might come up, but it's not as overpowering, or it might be that self-worth, and it's not as empowering, because disempowering, I should say, because you found your truth, you're sticking to your values, and you know what's right for you and what's not anymore, and you're really trusting yourself.
Yep, and you know where to put up the boundaries, and you don't feel bad about putting up the boundaries, because you know that they're necessary.
Yeah.
It's all about balance.
Exactly.
Which is literally our homework as a species, is humans. We need to find balance.
Yes, so true.
And that's what we've lost. Like, that is all of our overarching purpose, is to find balance.
And it's funny because I was
So,
about to ask you if you could heal one thing in the world, what would it be? But I feel you've answered that question.
the unbalance.
Yeah. And
Yeah, maybe.
I
Maybe
always
the unbalance of just living.
I always get shown a triangle of light and dark, and then you have to find the balance in the middle to achieve your enlightenment or to achieve your, soul purpose and that sort of thing. And I feel it's the same with living on this planet or being in a relationship. You always need to find that balance with everything, with nature, with people, with whatever, even your relationship with yourself. You need to find that balance too, to know when you can push or when you sit back, and then with the cycles, and this balance just keeps coming back in, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important to learn what it feels like to be balanced, what it feels like to be grounded, because it's like things are going to constantly push you out of that. But when you know how to go back to it, when you know how to calm down your energy, when you know how to nourish yourself, when you know where to go and what resources are available and how to get them, your life really changes a lot for the better.
Agreed, 100%. Well, thank you.
And that's totally for everyone.
Agreed. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Sylva, for being on the show. We went down many different spirals, but I love that.
Yes, we did. It was a lot of fun.
So I will leave in the show notes for anyone listening if they want to get in contact with Sylva. You can find all that information in the show notes, and you can tune into her podcast as well. So thank you again for your time and for being here and connecting all the way from Italy to Australia. How amazing is technology?
It's so cool. Yeah. Global phenomenon we are.
Yes, we are.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.